Selected parts from the book One Life is Not Enough, Part 25. In December, I was asked by the Ministry of External Affairs to reach Delhi for consultations. I briefed the Prime Minister on the difficult time we were facing in justifying the emergency. She was dismissive and curt. She said, "Your High Commission is not functioning well." I was unable to fathom how she had managed to arrive at this worrying conclusion. I could not say much in reply, only that those of us who were in London could merely do damage control. It was virtually impossible to sell the emergency in London, which in many ways was an extension of India. I did at a later date tell her of cabinet ministers, members of parliament, and other do gooders descending on India House, asking the High Commissioner to arrange for them meetings with leaders of Labour and Conservative parties and other senior people. No one in the British establishment wished to meet these misguided people. It was impossible to sell the emergency to England. The reaction in America was similar. Even Dorothy Norman, a well known New York celebrity and close friend of Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi, opposed the emergency. In December, I came to India. During my stay, I got the distinct impression that the Prime Minister was under the sway of people like Bansi Lal, the Defence Minister, and Sanjay Gandhi, who kept telling her that the emergency was necessary and had mass support. I was told that trains were running on time and that officials had discovered the virtues of punctuality. Discipline was being enforced. A few days later, the Prime Minister asked me to join her for lunch. If I remember correctly, Rajiv Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, and Farooq Abdullah were also present. Controversial subjects were avoided, although I got the impression that Rajiv disapproved of his brother's activities and how helpless he was in the matters related to the emergency. He was as discontented, disgusted, and depressed with what was happening as was everybody not belonging to the small clique of Sanjay's buddies and supporters. I asked Rajiv why his mother allowed all this to happen. He said that the fact was that she had abdicated in favor of her son. She exercised none of the powers of the Prime Minister. They had all been delegated to Sanjay. From what I myself had seen, it seemed that she was operating as if she were the President and the Foreign Minister. It seemed that she did not know what was happening inside the country. The next day, I accompanied the Prime Minister on her tour to South India. She attracted huge crowds. The South had, by and large, escaped the oppression of the emergency. I met several of my colleagues in the IAS. Some were overtly cautious, others openly critical of the emergency. In their judgment, it was not just an administrative undertaking, it was a moral issue as well. One of them said that the Prime Minister was damaging the ethical underpinning of our polity. I really had no convincing answer. In normal times, I would have reported this to the Prime Minister, but those were not normal times. She would have asked me for their names. Those I could not give. It would amount to breach of trust. On my return to Delhi, I met Foreign Secretary Keval Singh, a mild-mannered man and a member of the ICS. He was competent and hard-working but lacked courage and imagination. Aware of my ready access to the Prime Minister, he declared that I was doing an exceptionally good job at a very difficult time. I thanked him. He was a man who, soon after the declaration of the emergency, had sent an almost unreadable circular to all Indian missions. I found it preposterous. Let me quote the paragraphs which highlights its absurdities. If officers have any serious reservations regarding government policies already on the anvil or hesitations in implementing them, these doubts should be set aside, or, in the alternative, they should report their inhibition and seek to retire immediately rather than show a half hearted commitment to political policies and considered decisions. Not only that, he talked of a constitutional emergency. We expect heads of mission and all officers under them to observe the well established ethics that a loyal civil servant must identify himself in implementing government policies with unreserved dedication. Government have a right to expect such a commitment. Serious note will be taken if any further reports are received of critical comments or lukewarm support of government policies by our own officers. While this is a personal letter to the head of missions, we expect you to be vigilant and effective in ensuring the same discipline from all your subordinates. In the middle of 1976, an English arms dealer came to see me. He said that India was going to revise her defense policy and would no longer be buying military equipment from the Soviet Union. He said that he had been to Delhi and had met the defense minister who had conveyed this information to him. I was astounded. As the High Commissioner was away, I immediately sent a top secret telegram to the Foreign Secretary. This telegram was shown to Sanjay, who, in any case, was seeing files from most ministries and summoning ministers. By the end of 1976, Indira Gandhi began to feel uneasy at the state of affairs. Some of her advisers had proposed that the term of the Lok Sabha be extended to 6 years and that the emergency be continued. To her credit, it must be said that she followed her instinct and her democratic side asserted itself. She announced elections to the Lok Sabha, which were then held in early 1977. During her election campaign, she faced an unusual situation. Her meetings were poorly attended, and in some cases, the people who turned up waved black flags in protest. One or two meetings were even disrupted. Meanwhile, Jayaprakash Narayan had succeeded in putting together leaders from various political parties to jointly contest the Lok Sabha elections. When the results were announced, Indira Gandhi and her son lost their Lok Sabha seats from Amethi and Raebareli. The Congress won only one seat in all of North India, even though it fared slightly better in South. The emergency was lifted on 21st March 1977. Immediately after, Babu Jagjeevan Ram, former Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, H.N. Bahuguna and Nandini Satpathy from Orissa resigned from the Congress and joined hands with the JP group. After the ensuing elections, a coalition government of the Janata Party under the leadership of Morarji Desai was sworn in on 27 March 1977. To us, in the High Commission, the degree to which the Congress had been wiped out came as a surprise. We had had our doubts, but were wholly unprepared for the drought. Even after 4 decades, the memory of emergency survives. All those above the age of 50 remember those turbulent months with trepidation. The emergency made a permanent dent on Indira Gandhi's reputation. And while I know that she regretted it, she had no one to blame but herself. She had once even claimed that the reason for declaration of emergency was a conspiracy to overthrow the government. To this date, no proof has come up of any such conspiracy. While it is the duty of a diplomat to justify the policies of his government, there are times when a great strain is put on him to do so. What we had, in fact, been doing was justifying the unjustifiable, selling the unsellable, promoting the unpromotable, and legitimizing the unlegitimizable. And in the process, I was disregarding my conscience. It is one period of my life which I do not look upon with pride. Thank you very much.